Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Neither one of our makeshift chaplains are here, it looks like. Our dog warden, Tim Pilblad, has our dog today.
This we have a female min pin. Was found at Dairy Queen on Abbey Road in Elyria.
You have to talk into the microphone, Tim.
It's
Sorry.
ready for adoption. Huh? Oh, okay. Okay, it's ready for adoption. It was yesterday. And we have 25 other dogs there. So come on down and visit us. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Under Resolutions Number 1, Investments,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Travel?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Bills?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner Kalo. I do have a number of personnel issues I wish to discuss with the board, specifically some potential hires at Job and Family Services, Golden Acres, our ongoing labor negotiations with respect to 911 and one of the sheriff's units. In addition to the personnel issues, I'd also like to discuss with the commissioners pending litigation this morning and the potential sale or purchase of real estate. All three of those topics are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussions. So to ask at the conclusion of regular board meeting today, we go into executive session and we talk about those items that I've outlined. Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading in the minutes of July 23rd and 30th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Authorize the payment of $1,000 to Dombrowski Rydell Funeral Home and Cremation Center, Lorain, for John R. Vincer, Lorain, indigent veteran, in accordance with the ORC 5901.25.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Request for proposal for drug testing system for on-site urinalysis substance abuse testing facility.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr.
Yeah.
Cordez, any short comment on that? This is in regards to the crime lab, drug lab.
Yes, there is something we do need to talk about, but I'm going to defer to council.
Yeah,
for a moment.
Commissioners, there's still a couple of tweaks I need to make to that, so I'm going to ask you to pull again. I don't know if you want to have any discussion about it. What we are doing is trying to put together a proposal to provide for the drug testing at the crime lab, but we keep having some technical changes of it, so hopefully we'll be back next week with it.
All right, then I'll
Yeah, one of the issues that here is that we have one general fund department and then some levy-supported activities that have routinely used urinalysis when adult probation was doing urinalysis. The thinking some time back, which now has turned in quite a bit of time back, was to possibly provide those same services in-house at the crime lab that adult probation used to provide to those departments. Now, adult probation is still doing a urine analysis for the probationers, but they're using what I would best term as a stick test. That doesn't give you specific levels. It indicates a positive or negative sample. The analysis is more detailed and refined and gives different levels of concentrations of various elements that you may be looking for. That is something that the domestic relations wanted, children's services, outside agencies that were using it like LOCATA, and we also had several police forces in Lorain County that used that service too. The changes that we're going through now was the equipment. We had to work out the deal on the equipment because they had equipment that was surplus, that was under contract when adult probation stopped doing that had to be dealt with. Landed squarely on your desk. It wasn't our problem, but it ended up being our problem. And then acquiring
$250,000 problem.
Well, thankfully, council, I believe, got the price down to a little bit over 100, from 170, I believe, something thousand. Almost 200,000. And then also RFPing new equipment, we have that in, but I'm still not comfortable. We have a full absorption understanding of the cost with regard to everything that's in there. We've also tentatively, with a hire date to be determined, hired a part-time lab tech to deal with that and the sampling because of the redundancy of certifying the test that we need. There's a bit of an issue now with how to capture samples and how they're going to do that I clearly have not understood or hasn't been related to us, or Jerry, who has been working as the intermediary with the outside agencies. I think we need to have a clear line of sight to that and complete costs, because I'm not sure that I have the complete cost yet. There was going to be a small burn rate on this to begin with. We discussed that until we get enough volume to deal with this. But the board earlier had thought that was a decision to have that service in this community, especially for the domestic relations courts. So hopefully within the next week, but it'll probably be closer to 2 weeks, we'll be back with this, I believe, and have a clear understanding of what to recommend to you.
Thank you.
We had a discussion too about having individuals start paying for the test. Did we get a clear answer on that yet, or?
You and I exchanged emails late last week and early this week with respect to possibly could the folks that were ordered to be drug tested specifically by domestic relations, the Children's Services and outside agency would be how they handle their costs is the board down there's business, and same with LOCATA, but specifically with the general fund departments. My understanding as a brief answer, the court administrator and domestics has indicated they probably could. I've asked for more additional information on that, and of course, as we discussed yesterday, I wanted to make sure that while we could apply those costs, that there was a realistic expectation that we would get that money.
Collections is always an issue.
Well, Commissioner, there seems to be a lot of money owed to the general fund by a lot of areas that impose, recapturing of fees, certain costs that you guys seem to pass resolutions on because we're told that those funds aren't recoverable. And they number in the millions. Now, I'm sure that they're doing everything they can to recover those funds. I just didn't want to see us adding to that list of non-recoverable funds, but there may be the ability to recover this. So I think we need to take a look at that too.
Well, yeah, I think the elected officials over there should look at selling their debt too, as we talked about.
We did talk about that, and we've been talking off and on to different administrations on whether that debt should be sold or at least placed outside to a collection agency. There hasn't been a forceful look at that to do something with that. I know that about 7 or 8 years ago, Mr. Nabokowski hired somebody to work with that. I think Kenny Burkhart was specifically hired to work on recapturing of a lot of outstanding court fees. And he may have something in place now, but I'm not up to date on that. But I do know that there's still a substantial amount of fees, fines, and ordered costs that we don't receive. And even some we do that, the sheriff's department has one
Right,
that we
write-offs.
do each year. And those funds would really help take some of the burden off of what we're doing here. And of course, those things are imposed on the people that are actually costing the taxpayers money to run something. So the taxpayers don't have any problem with those people paying their fees if we can get those fees back. It's not an additional tax. It's money to pay a small portion of the cost of why they're in the system. I don't know about selling those debts. That may be something that can be looked at again. But that would be up to the board to talk with the clerk, at least the clerk of courts, and make some decisions on that.
Yeah.
I will withdraw my motion.
Withdraw my second.
Madam Clerk?
Approve the NOACA Code of Regulations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, in regards to NOACA, the 5-county metropolitan planning organization that Lorain County is a member of, whenever we have changed to our bylaws, it requires ratification of the 5 counties. On July 11th, we passed changes that had been discussion for over a year as we were going through the bylaws, which happened to be my committee. It was approved unanimously by the NOACA Board, and now the next process is approving at ours and sending it back to NOACA.
I noticed the city of Cleveland now has to sign off.
Correct.
Is
They
that-
always, there was somewhere within the bylaws, Cleveland had some parts that they were one of the 6 because they pay their own dues and they're the largest municipality, and other places they were excluded. So we cleaned up a lot of language.
Anything further? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under solid waste, authorize the additional expenditure of $5,877.04 for dumpsters provided to communities due to the severe storm on May 12, 2014, to be paid from the disaster management account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you. You see, you've been very busy since I've been gone. I actually have some rather distressing news with regards to our bond rating. Sad to say that we finally received the Fitch rating that we've been working on for several months. Probably the longest slug in all my years doing this that we've had with a rating agency. And we kept going back and forth with them, and Friday, and I received it Monday, they issued the rating, and the county has been downgraded from a double A+ to a double A-, which is very discouraging to me because it's the first downgrade we received since I've been the county administrator. And also, we were able to struggle through all the economic challenges beginning in 2007 until currently without receiving a downgrade. And I was fairly proud of the board for all the things that they did that I could explain to the rating agencies that maintained our really good rating on our bonds. While we're not out of the woods, we definitely can see some light with respect to improving conditions within revenue streams and the county itself. And to receive a downgrade now was really just something I didn't expect. Lisa was working with me a lot on this over the months, and there was little that we could convince them to do otherwise. The only favorable thing that has come out of that is that we were lowered to a double A-, but we were also rated stable, and that helps. We had been rated non-stable or not a positive outlook. We would have even had a harder time with our borrowing. But what it means is that at least one of the big rating agencies is now looking at us strongly and paying a lot of attention, and it may cost us more money now in the future to borrow money. I don't think it's going to be a huge amount to borrow more, but it's going to be a couple fractions of a percentages. And when you're borrowing millions, and we do borrow millions here and there, off and on, and rotate debt, it does have a larger impact over time. We didn't ask for this rating. The last one I completed with Moody's, we were stable and we maintained our good rating with Moody's. This one was an unsolicited rating, and it took, as I said, an extended period of time. We can't tell them not to rate us. If we have outstanding debt, and they decide to update and they want to rate us, they can. We had dropped much further, we may have had some issues with our outstanding bonds, but with the one downgrade, we're in good condition still with our outstanding obligations. Just going to have to work, and the next goal is going to be to get that back up there and get that notch back coming up over the next year. But it does signal that we're being very, very minutely paid attention to what's going on in Lorain County by the bond rating agencies.
It's no surprise us, mortgaging roofs and sidewalks and vehicles and things that we've never done in the past.
Well, that, Commissioner Kokoski, you raise a very valid point. They don't like a lot of the things that have happened in the last year and a half. When you start borrowing against things like purchasing of vehicles and doing what some may believe is routine maintenance, sidewalk repairs and roof repairs, it's one thing if you have a roof on a mega building that costs $2 million to replace, and you put part of it in cash and you borrow some towards capital improvement. But in and of itself, each one of these jobs wasn't a huge job. I think the biggest blow was having to buy vehicles, and we're going to have to buy vehicles again at the end of this year for the Sheriff's Department. It's simply, they got to have some. They have a very aging old fleet that they've been holding together. It's much like it was. It's not as bad, but it's close to what it was in the late 90s with their vehicles. So they look at that and they're saying, yeah, you're doing well, you've done what you've said you're going to do. The Board of Commissioners has executed those managerial decisions that you said would be executed if the revenues were this and things had happened. But now you're borrowing into the future for what many may consider routine expenditures that you used to pay cash for. We'll see how that goes, but I warned you when we borrowed on that was not going to be a positive sign to the rating agencies. But you have little choice.
Because it still had to be done.
That's my report for this morning. Sorry to come back and I have depressing news, but that's...
We struggled through the hardest times, and I was kind of hoping we were going to start, improving, but we're still struggling.
But I have the report, and it'll be available, and I'll get it over to you. And they went final yesterday afternoon. I could see by the comments that there was no sense arguing with them and just moving, and we just needed to move forward because we do have a small comment window, but they already had pretty much made up their mind, and you can see from the comments they have. But then again, they did not drag us down, but they've indicated that they believe there's some significant stress on what we're doing moving forward. That ends
And
my
there
report.
is. We know. We live it every day.
You live it every day. That ends my report. Thank you.
Mr. Innes?
I have two matters of kind of intertwined litigation that I need to discuss with the commissioners in the executive session.
Counsel, I'm not sure under sunshine I was intertwined.
Well, there are actually two matters of pending litigation, but they impact upon each other. Is that?
Shirley's got it all ingrained, little plaque over there.
Commissioners report.
I really don't have much of a report, but as we're talking about finances and things, we have a report from the Visitors Bureau, and they're on a negative burn of about $49,000 from January to June, and I'm concerned about that. I don't know if we need to have Barb come in or talk to us and try to determine how they can get this under control also.
With respect, Mayor, to the Visitors Bureau, a couple things there. First, timing is an issue with their revenues. Secondly, they've had a significant problem with their building. We have provided some relief that should help them. They didn't have money for repair of the building. They're in either pre-litigation or litigation. Right. I'm not sure which one. But they needed about $300,000 plus worth of work to the building. They say it was defective architectural build. You know how that goes.
Right.
And they were hopeful that they would get something resolved on that by later this year, but I wasn't. I've seen these things last 3, 4, 5 years back and forth. So we offered at the Port Authority to refinance their debt. Not only are rates very favorable today, more favorable than they were when they originally took out the debt. But secondly, we could extend the payments out, something similar that we did to the Justice Center.
Right.
And remember, we were talking about buying the cars. They weren't too happy that we took 12-year-old debt and took it out to 20 years a couple of years ago, but we're saving almost $1 million a year.
Right.
It's not just on interest, but on the principal and interest. So that's another look that was in our long-term bond ratings. They look at that too. We were refinancing the house for operating cost. The Visitors Bureau has done the same thing. Even with taking cash out to handle the repairs, which are going to be done from that, and extending it out with the favorable rates, they'll reduce their debt burden and have a better cash flow out of that, and that'll help relieve some of that burn rate at the Visitors Bureau. But they're still going to be burdened with this very large building and very costly building that now they're putting another, it was 1.2 something million, and then they put some money into the parking lot that they bought adjacent subsequent to that bill. But they're still going to be burdened now with probably another back to about $1.2 million and $1.3 million in debt after all is said and done. Just that they're going to have a longer time to pay it and a lower interest rate. So, but a little bit, I think they're going to be plus 30-something thousand after all said and done on their cash flow. But we can take a look at what their projections are for later in the year if you want. For those that watch and don't understand why you're talking about the Visitors Bureau, the motel hotel bed tax, as it's known, with the exception of Avon and the city of Lorain, who had a grandfathered tax in place in their jurisdictions, the rest of the county is in an area where the county tax takes precedence. So those revenues come to the Board of Commissioners to use for either convention purposes or Visitors Bureau purposes, and you designate the entity that is the Visitors Bureau for Lorain County, and you have designated, or the prior board did, and you've continued the designation with this nonprofit group that actually calls themselves the Visitors Bureau. But you're under no obligation to do that. That's one of the reasons you had to back the guarantee on that building with non-tax revenues. So sometimes people wonder, well, what are you talking about the Visitors Bureau? But you don't appoint their board, though.
Right.
So they have an independent board, but you do make the designation.
I see the sheriff's here. I just want to congratulate you on the big drug bust this week. Multi-community, multi-everything, so great job on that.
I want to be Kavanaugh when I grow up.
I
He gets to go out
know.
and do things.
Doing big things. That's the end of my report.
Yeah, just a busy week. For those of you not aware, Lorain County Justice Center is closed today due to a power outage in downtown Elyria. They got our building up about 4:30, but as of 8:30 this morning, there was no water or power at the Justice Center, so it's been closed for the day, and the notifications went out to all the press. Really busy week. More events than I can think about between National Night Out and Dancing on Main Street, Black River Landing's Rib Fest, just a great time in the community. If you don't think there's anything to do in Lorain County, you're wrong. There's always something to do. That's the end of my report.
Yeah. Same thing at all those events that you talked about. Wellington Balloon Festival had a great event down in the campgrounds out there by Huntington Township.
Did they raise any money throwing baseballs at you? I mean, at the dunk tank.
Yeah, they did. Actually, Matt Lark was down there. I spent about $15 dunking him.
Yeah, but I heard there was a cage so they couldn't hit you with the ball.
But no, I was able to dunk Mark a few times. He kept telling me, "Oh, I was a pitcher," or he was a pitcher. And when I went in the tank, he wasn't able to dunk me, so just a little bit of bragging rights there. But kids came out, they were anxious, throwing the ball. One kid, he was like a little ninja. He didn't hit me with the ball, but he would just dart out of nowhere and hit that bar, and down I went. It was
Like
just-
Democrat. Good Democrat.
He was being paid by the young Democrats, don't worry.
But yeah, I think he got me about 12 times, so it was a fun event. Howard Reynolds, the whole staff out there does a great job. And then it ran into the Sheffield Township Fire Department had a steak fry, a great steak fry, great event out there. And then headed over to Dancing on Main Street. I was a little disappointed. I thought I was going to be at the beer tent, and they put me at the wine cooler. So, not a wine cooler type of person, but great events all throughout the county. Even with the rain this weekend, people were out and about. And congratulations to the Lorain Port Authority on that Rib Fest. I went down there Thursday night. It was amazing. Ribs were great. Seeing people out in their communities, and Sheffield Township and the city of Lorain doing their national night out, both great events, and just good to see the community coming together throughout Lorain County. So, end of my report.
I actually snuck out of Lorain County and went over to Kelly's Island. They had the Kelly Circus. It's like going back in time when you go to the Kelly's Island anyways, but the circus was so awesome. Took the grandkids and we had a great time.
Did you see Jim there?
No, but I'll tell you what, the guy that led the camels and the zebras around looked exactly like Ken Carney, and I kept trying to get a picture of him. Like, Ken left and went to the circus. No.
Oh, there's a lot of things we could do with that one now.
Yeah. That's it.
Is that it?
That's all I got.
That's the end of my
Madam Clerk?
report.
Okay. Next Tuesday, we'll have our Stormwater District meeting at 11. Board correspondence.
Move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anyone wishing to address the board this morning?
Sheriff, you want to brag today? Kavanaugh?
Motion to go executive session is outlined by the county administrator and county prosecutor.
Second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.